It's another massive U-turn from Chancellor Rachel Reeves, and now she is at war with Ed Miliband. Your energy bills are going up again.
Watch how chaos erupts in the Commons as Ed Miliband faces one of the most intense grilling sessions yet over Britain's soaring energy prices. Accused of misleading the House and dodging the truth, the Energy Secretary is pushed to the brink as furious MPs demand answers. With bills rising, pressure mounting and tempers flaring, this explosive clash exposes deep cracks at the heart of the government's energy strategy. Before we continue, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Britain Daily. It's completely free and it helps us keep bringing you the hard-hitting stories that matter. Let's watch this explosive clip.
Richard Tice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Secretary of State has just misled, inadvertently I'm sure, the House. Can he explain, with regard to the price of gas, Mr. Speaker, why the price of gas in the United States is about a third of the price of gas here in the UK? It's because they use it domestically, isn't it, Secretary of State?
No, it's not that. And I have to say to the honourable gentleman, he's entitled to his own opinions, but he's not entitled to alternative facts. And what the last government said, and what this government said, and what every sensible economist says, is that more production, his idea of more drilling, or drill every last drop, or drill baby drill, would be precisely the wrong thing for our country, because it will make no difference to the price. The answer is homegrown, clean renewables that we control.
Shadow Minister Andrew Bow.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. In the face of further geopolitical turmoil, now is the time to alter our approach to energy. Drilling in the North Sea and scrapping carbon taxes on British manufacturing would kickstart economic growth, tackle unemployment, as well as prevent further deindustrialisation. Does the Secretary of State agree with those comments from the Labour Member of Parliament from Mid and South Pembrokeshire?
Mr. Speaker, what I would say to him and to others is that this party, this government, is taking a pragmatic approach to these issues. We are using existing oil and gas fields for their lifetime, including with tiebacks, welcomed by industry. But what we're not going to do is fly in the face of the evidence. The answer to a fossil fuels crisis is not to double down on fossil fuels. The answer is to double down on clean, homegrown power we control. They used to believe that, Mr. Speaker, before they jumped on another bandwagon.
Mr. Speaker, it is extraordinary, mad. Even no other country on earth would deprive itself of the vast natural resource we are lucky enough to have at our disposal underneath the North Sea. The Jackdaw field alone could provide 250 million barrels of oil equivalent in natural gas to the UK, and it could be up and running by Christmas. But because the Secretary of State, it is stuck in limbo. It is utter insanity. His inaction is an act of national economic self-harm. When will he make a decision and act in the national interest?
Well, look, before he self-combusts, Mr. Speaker, as a result of the court decision, those projects are proceeding at risk. But I'll tell you the way we'll make a decision. I'm not going to comment on a live planning issue, but I will say in general, we will make a decision that is legally watertight. The last government made a series of decisions which were found, oh, no, they say, well, they don't care about the rule of law. And we saw that, Mr. Speaker, when they said we should rush headlong into a war with no regard for the impacts on our constituents.
Gibson.
Mr. Speaker, the latest wind auction has signed us up to sky-high prices for the next 20 years, but ministers are claiming that their internal analysis proves that this will bring bills down. So can I ask the Secretary of State to publish these calculations in full so we can see exactly how prices will be lowered?
We published the levelised cost analysis, which showed that new renewables were much cheaper to build and operate. But I have to say, Mr. Speaker, as gas prices are soaring across the world and hitting us here at home, the idea that the party opposite still opposes our renewable auction, which gives us clean, homegrown power that we can rely on, is absolute nonsense.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister stood on the steps of Downing Street and promised families their energy bills would fall by £300. And yet, since the general election, bills have gone up already by £73. They're forecast to go up more. So it's hardly surprising that my constituents don't really believe a word that they hear from those opposite benches. So can the Minister today explain to me, when will families in my constituency actually see that £300 saving delivered? When?
Well, families in her constituency will see savings on their bills from next week, thanks to the actions of this government. And she's wrong on the facts. She's wrong on the facts, because if you look across 2025, bills are actually lower in real terms than in 2024. And I can tell her that by 2030, which is a manifesto commitment, we remain absolutely committed to cutting bills by up to £300.
Peter Morton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Secretary of State promised that Great British Energy would lead to mind-blowing reduction in bills. Can the Minister confirm how much the average family has saved as a result specifically of Great British Energy?
I'll tell him that across the country, and no doubt, I hope it will have to come to his constituency, there are public services across our country who are seeing reductions in the bills of schools and hospitals and money transferred to the front line. We on this side support those proposals. We support lower bills. And as for his constituents, as I said to the Honourable Lady, he can look forward to them having lower bills as a result of this government's actions. Next.
Bill Lesterson, Chair of the...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There are people who are saying that the way to bring down bills is to reach agreement with the oil and gas companies to charge less for gas in the North Sea. Isn't the problem with that argument that there is absolutely no way that those privately owned companies, or their shareholders, to be more accurate, will allow them to agree to a lower price than they can get elsewhere in the world?
Well, my honourable friend makes a really important and relatively basic point, which is gas is priced and sold on the international market. So whether it comes from the North Sea or is imported, is charged at the same price. And Mr. Speaker, sir, don't take my word for it, but it's what the Shadow Energy Secretary said when she was in post, that the more drilling wouldn't necessarily lead to lower energy bills.
Mike Reader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the Secretary of State share my concern, perhaps my dismay, that at a time when families are concerned about the cost of energy, they're concerned about the price at the pumps, that the Conservatives have become obsessed with oil and gas licensing, not taking any action at all to actually reduce bills?
My honourable friend makes a really important point, which is that they come here month after month making the same argument about something that is not going to reduce bills by a single penny. And it was they that said that during the last crisis. It's they that said that when they were in government. This side is about reducing people's energy bills, the priority of the British people.
Shadow Secretary of State Claire Coutinho.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This government is taxing people up the wazoo and piling cost after cost onto their energy bills. People on £30,000 or £40,000 a year who are not well off are being hammered to pay for welfare when they're already working all hours to support their own families. Now we hear the Labour Party are about to go back to the taxpayer again to subsidise those on welfare, but their first port of call should be to adopt our cheap power plan. It would cut electricity bills by 20% for everybody by cutting green taxes and levies, and it wouldn't cost the taxpayer a penny. Why won't they?
Their plan is totally incredible, Mr. Speaker, and she knows it. Their plan on renewables is just to tear up the contracts, and they had 14 years to do it, and they didn't do it. Why? Because they know they can't. But I have to say to her, if she's talking about tax, it is quite extraordinary that her position is now to abolish the windfall tax, which has raised £12 billion since it was introduced in 2022. The difference between us and them is that we're willing to tax the oil and gas companies to help ordinary families.
Gideon Amos, Liberal Democrat spokesperson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Despite solar and wind being freely available, only 15% of renewables are subject to contracts for difference that effectively control prices. Given the conflict in the Middle East is set to add up to £300 to bills, isn't it time the government addressed this Trump tax by transferring all renewables onto contracts for difference as part of our Liberal Democrat plan to halve energy bills?
Well, we are driving forward with contracts for difference, and obviously we're looking at the specific proposal he talks about. Let me just say on the more general point, though, that he makes, which is absolutely he is right about this. Rolling out renewables at speed, solar, wind, all types of renewables, is the best way we can insulate ourselves from global economic shocks, a point we have consistently made and sadly is being borne out by the events we see around the world.
Mr. Speaker. As a former member of the task force, I well remember the Conservatives cancelling the zero carbon homes programme. Presumably, they want homes to be colder, more difficult to heat, and more expensive. So we welcome on these benches the enactment of my honourable friend, the member for Cheltenham's proposals today for solar panels on all new homes. Jan and Jeanette from my constituency, CPR Somerset, have pointed out that if that was extended to car parks and commercial buildings, that would generate as much electricity as 15 Hinkley Point power stations. Would the Secretary of State extend the solar panels requirement to car parks and commercial buildings?
Well, first of all, I accept his congratulations on our announcement of the Future Home Standard today, which is a really, really important measure. It should never have been abolished by the last Conservative government. On the question of warehouses and car parks, we are absolutely looking at how we can roll that out more swiftly, particularly on the warehouse question. There is so much unused space that could be used to help cut bills right across the country.
What you've just witnessed wasn't just another routine exchange in Parliament. It was a moment that perfectly captures the growing tension around Britain's energy crisis. Ed Miliband came into this debate determined to defend the government's strategy. But as the questions kept coming, the pressure clearly intensified. MPS didn't hold back. They challenged the government's claims, questioned the data, and, most importantly, voiced the frustration that millions of people across the country are feeling right now. At the heart of this clash is a simple but powerful issue: trust. When energy bills are rising, when families are struggling, and when businesses are being squeezed, people expect clear answers. But what we saw instead was a heated back and forth over facts, figures and responsibility. The argument over North Sea drilling versus renewables is no longer just a policy debate. It's become a political battlefield. On one side, critics argue that refusing to fully exploit domestic oil and gas resources is pushing Britain into unnecessary dependence on global markets. On the other, the government insists that doubling down on fossil fuels won't solve the problem, and that the future lies in clean, homegrown energy. But here's the reality. While politicians debate long-term strategy, millions of households are dealing with short-term pain. Rising bills, economic uncertainty and global instability are creating a perfect storm. And that's why moments like this in the Commons matter so much. Because this isn't just about who wins the argument inside Parliament. It's about who can actually deliver results outside of it. Miliband tried to stay firm, repeatedly pointing to renewables as the solution. But the opposition wasn't convinced. They pushed back hard, highlighting inconsistencies, past promises, and what they see as a failure to act decisively in the face of a crisis. And perhaps the most striking part of this exchange was the tone. The interruptions, the accusations, the visible frustration. It all points to a deeper issue. This is a government under pressure, facing growing scrutiny, not just from political opponents, but from the public as well. The big question now is this: can the government regain control of the narrative, or will moments like this continue to fuel the perception that they're struggling to handle one of the biggest challenges facing the country today? Because energy isn't just another policy area. It affects every single person. From heating homes to running businesses, the stakes couldn't be higher. And as we've seen today, the political battle over how to fix it is only just heating up. If you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Britain Daily. It's completely free, and it helps us bring you more powerful moments like this from the heart of British politics.